Yeah. Is it Bit Yap? Is that your name?
Are you pronouncing that
I
correctly?
don't know if his mic's on.
If you might.
Yeah, there's. Sorry.
So I think I had my hand up, didn't I, as well?
Yeah, don't worry. Is Bit Yap, can Bit Yap put something in the chat at all?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I know they've been posting in the chat, so.
Right, okay. Bit Yap, hi, I'm Elaine. I just want to know what sort of idea that you've got at the moment. If you could just let me know. If you can hear me. Okay. No, I don't think. Well, what we'll do is we'll start off anyway, won't we? Okay. So setting up a pop-up. This is me. I think Richard has seen this before. I set up my business 28 years ago, having been made redundant from the British Airports Authority and to GKN, to large companies in the sort of late 80s, early 1990s, and springboarded back to Manchester and had the opportunity of starting as a freelancer. And over the years, I've dealt with all these different sectors. I've also pivoted the business, so started training at 10 years ago now, worked with the university for over 10 years. I'm like a pop-up myself, I pop up at different times. I have worked with a lot of creative industries, particularly with the Prince's Trust. I'm a Prince's Trust mentor, and work with graduate entrepreneurs and new start businesses right across all sectors, and also traditional businesses. So I'll move on so we can get to grips with what we're talking about today, and I'm glad that it's being recorded. So mute your microphone, but I will, be asking you a couple of questions, and I've got some ideas for you. What I don't tend to do is read from the slides, because the slides are for you, they're your information, and we talk around the slides. I'd like you to write down some points that you could ask me at the end, and also I will be giving you some website information that Laura's going to send to you after our session this afternoon, and I'll answer any questions that you might have. So, okay. So these are only some of the reasons why you would set up a pop-up. What we found, particularly with the pandemic, that there's an awful lot of empty units. As Richard said, there's a lot of empty units around, and apparently throughout the UK, France, and the United States, there's a 125% increase in opportunities to actually for letting. So that's a lot of empty units around. And I don't know about you, but I was desperate to get back and to shop and see the outside world again. And you are finding particularly that since lockdown, that local shops, local high streets are a really good opportunity to have a look round. So testing a new venture, really, really good idea to do that. We call it an omni-channel. So if you might be working on the internet and you want to test your marketplace to actually what we call bricks and mortar, it means that you're more visible. It's a showcase to your products. You might find what does work and what doesn't work, which is just as important. And we need to start somewhere about building our customer base, particularly longer term. So that's another good reason to use a pop-up. And you will find that pop-ups are becoming part of the retail landscape. And I will now I'll tell you, I've got some notes here for you. Right. And Laura can take them down. I've had a look at some of them, and I've got some really good pop-ups to share with you. Have a look at Clicks and Mortar. In Greater Manchester, they're a housewares company. There's plenty of pop-ups, including the pop-up boutique in Affleck's Palace, and Affleck's Palace is up near Piccadilly in the Northern Quarter. Paper Chase apparently have got their own pop-up in Trafford Park, the stationers. There's a fashion company called Hush in Leeds, and one that I really like, which is a lingerie outlet, is Skinny Dip in Brent Cross. So that's Clicks and Mortar. pop-up boutiques in Affleck's Palace, Hush in Leeds, Skinny Dip in Brent Cross. And if you just, there's so many in Shoreditch in London, but it gives you an idea of where to look. And Laura's going to send you a link to smallbusiness.co.uk, and they've got an essential guide to setting up a pop-up in the UK. So I think it's important that you actually just have a look and see what's out there. It'll give you plenty of ideas for internal and external design and how successful pop-ups have fared. So it's part of the retail landscape. As I said, I don't know whether you're going into your own local community. Mine's Prestwich and Whitefield, and we've got lots of retail that have started up and pop-up cafes. So really, if you've got, there you go, thank you. If you don't need all-round premises, and you should think of the type of pop-ups that are happening throughout the year. So you've got Valentine's Day pop-ups. There are shops that are just going into Valentine's Day over probably a week. There are fireworks companies selling fireworks in the end of November, and also Christmas markets. So it's a fantastic springboard to launch new products. The most important thing is actually you undertake your research. Dan Thompson, he's the guru. He's formed the Empty Shop Networks. He's also got a book out called Pop-Up. It's actually a couple of years old now, but it's really good for research. And it's called Pop-Ups for Dummies. And that's worth having a flick through. I think you could probably get it online. But the most important thing is that you're different. And that's the whole purpose of a pop-up. So you can be almost avant-garde. So, you know, spread your personality around there. Think of the story behind your brand. You know, what makes you different. I'm going to talk about the different types of empty and underused spaces in the next couple of slides. But the key is that whatever structure you have, that your goods, your shelving, or any of your furniture can be moved somewhere else. That's because that's cost effective. You don't want fixed furniture. There might be an opportunity to get fixed furniture if you're in a gallery space, because they'll already be set up, or an exhibition space. But I do recommend that anything you have personally is portable. A pop-up, as it is short term. It can be anything from a day to a few weeks, but there does need to have a start date and an end date. And another reason for that is a great marketing tool. So you can get traction before, you can notify potential customers that that's when you're starting, that's when you're launching, and there's an end date. So there's a window for people to come into the space and actually buy or browse or talk to you. The other good thing about a pop-up is you can test your ideas before you're committing anything else. So before you're committing to buying a larger space or going online. So there are small businesses that have actually tested the market with a pop-up before they go online, before they build a website. So you can do it in reverse rather than online, then bricks and mortar. But if you think about some of the larger companies that have gone into bricks and mortar, in London, particularly Adidas, are now bricks and mortar, which is really interesting. So they're actually using their shops as display units. So have a look at Shoreditch in particular. Any questions so far? I would like to tell you the most popular types of, well, EE have done the phone company have done a survey recently about the most successful pop-ups. And the first ones are food and drink, very, very popular, as you can imagine. Pop-up restaurants, pop-up cafes, pop-up coffee outlets. So it's food and drink. And then there's fashion, very, very popular. Craft, arts and craft. And Richard was telling me about it. Is it towards Wigan, an old empty Marks and Spencer's unit, Richard? That's now full of,
that's correct,
yeah,
Elaine,
yeah, full of pop-ups, which is great. And also, finally, of the sort of top That's, yeah, great. Yes, fantastic. Yeah, that's grub. Perfect. Perfect. And also accessories, jewelry and accessories are really, really popular. A pop-up's like on the squat. Possibly, but you have to leave. You do have to leave the pop-ups. It's also a really good way to test the pricing of your products, to find out where the market is. Really, really good idea. And you'll soon know because you'll get feedback. So that's another good reason to set up a pop-up. It's really important to research your area. And as I say, some are keeping local, particularly in the suburbs. But what I would say to you is go and have a coffee. Sit and have a coffee. Go and eat in the local area. Talk to retailers. Talk to shop owners. Go at different times of the day and evening to have a look at the footfall. Shopping centres are good. There's lots of vacant units. Now, if you're going to think about a pop-up in a shopping centre, you need to talk to the shopping centre manager. There could be booths available, kiosk spaces, and at very, very low rents. And the feeling behind that is you've already got foot traffic. There are people coming into the shopping centre and they're only too pleased to generate more footfall, and that could be you. So, for example, if they provide something on the first floor of a shopping centre, it drives people up the escalators. So it'll be really good for them in particular and for you. There are galleries and event spaces. Also, the beauty of those is that it's a blank canvas. You can create your own space. And they also might have specific areas for you where there's, you know, boarding, shelving, space to promote your art. And it's actually event ready. And there's a growth of pop-ins so that you join together, you collaborate with another retailer. So you might go into, I don't know, a cafe, which has an awful lot of space. And at the moment, with social distancing, there are a few tables. So it's an ideal opportunity to have a small unit in there. So, you know, I think it's about thinking left field. Don't close your mind to other retailers and joining forces, and also joining forces with other creatives on the launch program. Farmers markets. Has anyone been to a farmers market? Anybody? Richard? Yeah. Oh, hello, Murad. Hello, Murad. How are you? Good to see you. Glad you've joined us. We're actually, if you want to ask any questions at the end, and there's a recording of the presentation because we're, you know, a third of the way in. But there are lots of opportunities and spaces. So it's a trying to think out of the box. And talking about boxes, have a look at Box Park in London. Plenty of pop-ups in there, and that's also Shoreditch. Really good opportunity. Talk to groups. Yesterday we had a session on networking. So think about your networks. Is there anybody that you would like to join? Any businesses that are familiar to you or have an affinity to the way that you work, what you produce or your service? So sort of think around the subject of a pop-up, and there needs to be a plan. It's a course of planning your pop-up. So the first thing to do is try and think about your idea. What's your idea behind the pop-up? Why do you think a pop-up would be good for you? That's the very first step. And research of the pop-ups, find out what works. So go on to the small business website. That's a really good source of information. But again, talk to people, talk to shop owners. Are there any opportunities? Have they graduated to a retail unit from a pop-up? So always ask. I'm going to go right back to basics now. It's really important that you know who your customer is. And we did this a couple of days ago. So if you want to access the first two courses about how to create your venture and find and win new customers, there's a lot of information there. But we need to think about your ideal customer. What does he or she look like? So think about, where are they? Where are the demographics? Whereabouts do your customers meet? So think about, age, gender. Are you promoting to families, singles, people who are interested in arts? Where's the value of your business to the customer? It's really important. Talk to retailers. If you are looking for a space on a high street or an empty shop, it's usually beneficial to be complementary rather than competitive. So we don't want two art shops on the same street, or two craft shops, or two candle shops, or two whatever, because it's only going to cause issues, I think, with the other retailers. So let's have a look round. It's also a good opportunity if you are making anything, if you're a manufacturer, if you're working with wood or sustainability fabrics. It's always good to actually show your wares in a pop-up. Be very clear about your foot traffic. So let's try and get a busy area, busy times of the day. Be aware of when it's busy. Hello. I said hello. Hi, Murat. And as I said, there are very few, well, at the moment, we're all working from home, or there's hybrid working. So there are very few people going into the city centre of Manchester is still quite quiet. And that's where suburbs, if you look at Didsbury's very, very busy, Chorlton's busy, Fallowfield's busy, Sockerford is busy, where I am, Prestwich is busy, Bury's busy. So all the out of town areas, Middleton's busy, Rochdale's busy, Oldham. So have a look round there and see if there are opportunities for your pop-up, and you could probably get a very, very good rate. There's a timed action plan. These things don't happen overnight. I would say give yourself at least 3 to 4 months to plan. So if you were planning something for Christmas, for example, a Christmas pop-up, I'd start looking around now. I know it sounds very, very early, but try and think about your pop-up plan, so that in September you're ready to roll and go and have a look at some of the marketplace. Talk to estate agents, talk to commercial estate agents. Is there any leases coming up, short-term leases? Can you have a word with the landlord? But in this plan, there need to be your objectives. So what do you want to achieve? What sort of support do you need? I mean, you've got an ideal platform with Launch on the business school, fantastic opportunity to ask. And now research potential locations, because basically you are the customer, you are the champion for your own business. Think about, do you need anyone else to help you? Any volunteers? How are you going to promote yourself on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter? What social media is actually applicable to you? And we're going to talk about whether or not you need a license or a hiring agreement. Very rarely it will be a lease, because lease is actually longer term. Anyone want to ask anything related to this slide? Anybody? No?
Yeah.
You're all very quiet today.
Hello, Elaine. I had a question
Hello.
that related to a previous slide, I think, but it was just something that I
Go
missed
on.
noting down. It was the shopping centre manager. It's okay. I've wrote it down. My mistake.
Right.
I've got it.
Okay. Yeah, shopping centre manager or the town centre manager. If it's a small town, there's always a town centre manager to go and talk to, and they will tell you what's empty, and use them as a signposting particularly. Really important. There's such a lot of information out there, both in the towns themselves. If there's a local newspaper, the Middleton Guardian, the Rochdale Observer, the Bury Times, go and have a talk to them. They're always a fantastic source of information. You know, what's coming up? Are there any events? You know, summer events. I mean, we've got to wait till June the 21st, particularly, to find out what's opening up. But it'll be really useful after that to find out, you know, what sort of events are being held. Apparently, I think Park Life is running again this year. Okay. Right. Okay. I'm going to talk about part of your plan. Marketing collateral. Marketing collateral is actually everything you're going to use to market yourself, and particularly I'm thinking about leaflets and flyers. And I know that printed media is really important for a pop-up because it gives you the opportunity to get out there and promote yourself to the local area, because that's where you're going to be based. So we want to, again, build footfall, build traction. So I'd be leafleting all the local shops. I'd be going to the libraries, hairdressers, bookshops in particular, local convenience stores, supermarket, anywhere around your locale, cafes, pubs. So that's why, you know, a very simple flyer telling people that when you're opening, and that period of time, it could be 6 weeks, it might be 3 weeks, it might be 2 weeks. So I'm really keen on leafleting, and it's also very useful on the day when you first start and you launch. Shop fittings, I'd like you to think about shop fittings. Who's responsible for signage? Have you got a kindly landlord who's got a blank sign that you can actually screen sprint over the top? Or are you going to have to provide your own signage? So all these are going to be costs. There's preparation of your space. It's really important. There's some further slides to talk about that. But you need to know the size of your unit. What sort of size do you need? You don't want a sort of 1,000 square foot when you only need 500. Or if you need more than 500, you need 1,000 square foot, then you need to think about what you're actually selling, how much furniture do you need in there, where you're going to get it from, and how you're going to market yourself to open. Are you going to get in touch with the local press? Obviously, the social media, but we need to build in traction. If you're already trading, you've got your original customers, and it's really important that you note down a closing date so that people know that that's the opportunity to buy, to actually meet you. It's a really, really good thing that you're going to have face-to-face interaction with a prospective customer, and ask them what they think of your products. It's a really super way to actually almost get a focus group together, because people will be willing to tell you whether or not it's something they would buy, if they're not buying, why they're not buying, what they would like to see. So you can also shape your offer. And at the beginning of the week, we talked about pivoting your business, changing. So that's a really good opportunity to actually test the market and research your marketplace. Maybe you're missing something. Maybe there's an opportunity if 6 or 7 customers in the day ask for something that you don't have. Maybe that's something that you can post out on social media, a small piece of research, and then go and, you know, buy that or make it or sell it. So these are all areas. This is why a pop-up is such a great opportunity at the very start of your business, particularly if you're going to business to consumer, retail. Any questions at all? Okay, no? Right, okay. So we need, as part of your plan, we need to think about the environment. Once you've chosen the area where you're going to work, there are obviously local networking groups, town networking groups. That is a really good opportunity for you to join. You'll be supporting other traders. So there are trader associations, again with the town teams, talk to the town teams, local community groups, church groups, women's institute groups, manufacturing groups, town teams. Has the town got an actual town teams? There's a lot of money going into regeneration of the high street at the moment. So, you know, let's find out from the councils. The councils are a really good signposting to what's happening in their town and how to promote yourself, particularly, and other retailers who are looking for empty spaces. So, you know, don't forget the economic department of local councils. Really good tip. Other arts ventures, what's happening, cultural ventures, other art organisations. I talked yesterday about Meetup. That's a really good online meet. Well, they're now online, but they were meeting up in person. They're probably starting that again very shortly. So it's about thinking about, you know, which groups do I want to talk to, and this is all before. This is leading up to your pop-up. So that's why I'm saying 3 to 4 months planning. Is there a sort of business that could help in the decision making? Do you want to take yourself off mute and ask me again? I don't know what, you know, decision making. Do you want to ask me? Just expand on your question.
Hello, Ellen.
Hi.
Hi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. So tell me about the decision about a shop or your idea.
Okay, I'm just framing the idea is for preparation purpose before setting up where to open up a new business. For example, I would like to know if there are some sort of business atlas in terms of what is trending in the area or what.
Right. Okay. Well, Okay. Well, you missed a couple of slides at the beginning, I think.
Yes, I just came in.
Okay. Yeah, you missed a couple of slides. Well, and it's everything's being recorded, but I've actually identified certain information points. So it's local councils, estate agents, estate agents particularly will tell you what's going on in the area. But the best way is yourself. You use yourself as a market researcher. So you spend time in the area that you're looking at, particularly. You go and sit in a cafe. Yeah, we'll share the recording. Yeah, we'll share everything. You go and sit in a cafe at different times of the day and evening. Go and sit in a pub, talk to people, find out where the footfall is. Talk to the cafe owner particularly. Go and talk to the retailers in the shops. There's nothing better than, you know, face-to-face research. So as well as local councils, local estate agents, if you're thinking of a shopping centre, it's a shopping centre manager or the town centre manager. But that information is on the first few slides, and you'll get those. Is that okay? Does that answer your question? No? Does that? Yeah? Okay, great. Yeah, feel free to take yourself off mute. Yeah, that's no problem at all. Right. So there's bound to be costs for setting up your pop-up. So, you know, are you going to have to paint the space? Shop fittings, are you bringing your own? Normally, if there's temporary space in a shopping centre, they've got all sorts of things that you can borrow, such as rails, shelving. You know, if you ask kindly, they'll put them up for you. So being in an empty shop, you've got a better opportunity to actually use their facilities. You'll need your own electrical items. I mean, you know, they're not going to supply you with a kettle to make it, or a cafe, you know, somewhere to make yourself a drink. A-boards are a really good idea. They start at anything from £25 to £250. Local printer will help you out there. That's good if you can put it outside the shop. And you'd also have to ask the landlord as far as that's concerned. Are you going to have you already set up a website? If you've set up a website, then it's a great promotional tool. Are you going to set up a website afterwards? So think about that if it's applicable to your business. Where's social media and actually print media? Who are you going to contact? This is all before. How are you going to create public relations opportunities with your pop-up? And admin costs. So there's all sorts of costs that we don't think about initially, and that's why a written plan is so important. And I advise you to write everything down in a timeline. So it's a timed action plan. Okay. I'm just having a look and see if there's anything else. Yeah, we're going to talk about insurances the next slide. There will be, in a shop, you still will have to pay their utility bills. So there'll be a proportion of the utility. So it's electricity, water. If you are in a shopping centre, for example, it's an empty shopping centre, then they'll normally have a bulk insurance policy. So you'll sort of piggyback onto theirs, which will be quite cost effective. If not, you need a short-term insurance policy for public liability, particularly. And I think you need to look into that, and I'm sure that Launch will help you. Are you going to staff it? One person might not be enough. So, you know, is there any? That's another reason why it'd be a good opportunity to actually join with somebody else, another trader. What about volunteers, family, friends? Can they help you out? Let's try and keep the costs down as much as possible. Remember, you're going to have your own mobile phone costs and your flyer and leaflet distribution, which actually can be quite cheap because you'll be doing the distribution yourself, I presume, or some of your friends. There's nobody better to sell your concept than yourself. So it's very hands-on, which is why we need this lead-in period. It's really, really important. You'll need contents insurance also. But as I said, there could be group insurances that you can tap into. So that's something that as part of your market research. Okay, right. I'm going to ask Laura, or I don't know if this, yeah, Laura particularly. I'm presuming that Launch, I'm sure they do, have access to legal support.
We have legal drop-in sessions with with legal advisors. Yes.
Right. Great, that's fantastic, because I think it's really important that you will have a contract between you and the landlord, irrespective of an empty shop or an empty space in a building, or sharing with somebody. There needs to be an agreement in writing. Usually there's different types. If it's short term and in an empty building, it could be a hire agreement. That's very, very short term. It's between you and just you and the owner. A license to occupy is the next stage. Again, short term, but if it's a landlord specifically, they might want that. So that's why you do need some legal advice, a contract. And longer term, there's possibly a lease. I doubt if they'll provide you with a lease because it is short term. But you also need the business insurance I talked about. And if you're serving food or alcohol, there'll be a permit. So these are the sort of things that you need to be aware of. So this is almost like an education, how to set up your pop-up and run one. So it's a really good, I mean, if you take the slides and, you know, refer to them when you're ready to put your plan together. This is all about, you know, getting your plan before we even open, before we think of selling. But these, before you book anything, we need to sort out your costs. Now, obviously, it's dependent on the landlord. They might just be great. It could be a peppercorn, could be very, very small because they're glad that, you know, that the space is occupied, particularly, again, in a small shopping centre, could be very, very useful. You want to know what's included. They might include utilities. They might include heating and lighting. They could have Wi-Fi that's included already. You want to know about the layout of the space. You know, do you need a window? You know, is it internal only? You know, how much window space have you got? Have you got any access to the outside, or is it just a unit inside another unit? Can you actually modify the space to suit your products? If you have some large products or very, very small, do they have anything available that you can utilize? And what are your liabilities? What are you liable for? I mean, do you have to get it back to its original condition? I'm presuming you would clean it afterwards. You know, are you allowed to paint it? Is there internet and Wi-Fi on the premises? Do they want a deposit to show commitment? All these things. Are you finding it useful, everybody, by the way? I'm
Very.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Good. And you'll get a lot of information from community centres and libraries, local libraries. I mean, I've even had people set up pop-ups in churches at the weekend. So they have church fairs, and that's a pop-up, and all you need is a table. So it's all about market research. How can you test your market? It doesn't have to be a physical shop. It could be a farmer's market as a pop-up. A space in a gallery is a pop-up. A space in somebody else's shop is a pop-up. So, you know, you don't have to be alone. There are, as I said, large local cafes that have to distance themselves. There might be space available for you just to show, you know, market your goods. Right. So these are the sort of things that are really important. I'd look at, if you're going for a shop front, are you already providing click and collect from online? If you started online, are you providing click and collect? If that's the case, you'll need somewhere to, you know, draw up and collect. Is there any parking around? You know, how are they going to find you? Where's the signage? Could you have an A board? Could you put leaflets out, you know, on hoardings? All these things that you need to think about. What's the condition of the unit? You know, it could need some very small renovation, particularly cleaning. Parking's really important for loading, unloading. So these are the areas that you need to think about. Right. Browsing space, particularly with the after the pandemic, and we have to be apart and masked. So we need to think about how much space you're going to need for enable people to walk around. We're all, you know, as we walk around in shops, see yourself as a customer, walk around. Is there enough space, or can they give you something that's bigger? Is there internet access? Stock. You don't want everything, you know, do they have a cupboard or a stock room? You don't want all your goods on the floor, or that there isn't any space. So it seems to be very basic, but it's the basics that are important. Lighting. Really, again, can you change some light bulbs in the building? How bright do you want it to be? Are we going to go for mood lighting, depending on what you're selling? How big is the display space? Again, have you got a window, or is it all internal? Do you want to play music? Are you allowed to play music? Are you going to bring your sound system? What sort of security? Are there roller shutters? Is anybody walking around, and do they have patrols at night in the town centre? If it's in a shopping centre, they will have security, but you certainly need to find out, you know, all about how the operational side of the exterior and interior. So this is why, can you get a feel of why you need so much time to plan? Everybody, does everyone feel that it's useful that you do plan ahead for several months? Okay. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, so, right. Now, I'm going to talk about branding. Branding is not just a logo. It's what you stand for. It's, if you think about the Nike tick, the tick is not just a tick. It's athleticism, fitness, looking after yourself. So the importance of your name is really, really important. You need to be stand out and memorable. Does your name reflect on what you're selling? Is that important to you? What is important is the strap line, and the strap line needs to reflect what you're providing. What sort of style, what sort of font, color is important. So it's not just, you know, you need to be memorable. It's not just a logo. Logo's just, it's just part of it. Think about companies like the Body Shop. It's green and clean, and have a look at their logo. And if I were you, I'd look at logos. Look at logos that complement your business. In other words, if it's food and drink, go and have a look at some food and drinks. Have a look at some strap lines. Do your market research. It's just as important that you are memorable and that branding continues So it's tradition. So it'll be useful for your flyers, useful for your social media. So you are the brand. What are we going to call ourselves? So, you know, what's the background? How can you turn your background and who you are into a brand? And it's really useful for moving forward. So it's easily recognizable. So it's more than just a logo. I think I'm losing my voice. As long as I don't lose my voice before we finish. Also, we want something that's easily to be pronounced, something that's simple. So the more you find out about branding and promoting yourself, the more thought that needs to be behind it. Have a look at some websites. Have a look at all the pop-up shops. How are they doing it? You don't need to reinvent the wheel. What does success look like? Really, really important. I'm making sure that I don't forget anything that I have to tell you. I don't think so. We're on. Yeah, we're fine. Okay. Now, you know, QR code. Are you going to get the QR code? And this is just an example. So I think that QR code is utility warehouse. Don't worry about that. It's just an image. Click and collect, which is what I said last time. Are you available for click and collect? Are you going to dovetail your online selling to offline? Contactless payments are the number of places that I'm going to at the moment that don't take cash. Has everyone found that? Anybody? I'm finding that so many people. Yeah, not either. They recommend you use your card. So you'll probably need to get a card reader from your bank, which will be very easy to do. Yeah, only accepted contactless. So, you know, you need to think about that. So people are coming in not expecting to pay you in cash. So you need to give them the alternative. Appointment shopping. This is a great way to, particularly if you're busy, that you gain some sort of exclusivity. I've got a card reader and won't pay a charge unless I process £1,000. It's a Square card reader. Okay, well, you need to do a little bit of research with your bank as far as that's concerned. And I think there's a company that are advertising. I can't remember the name of the companies. We'll find out for you. It's something that's shown on television on a regular basis for startup businesses. I don't know who that is. I apologise. We'll find out for you. But every bank is different, and particularly if it's only going to be for a short time. Appointment shopping, really good idea to set up appointments for people who are very interested, or clients that are dealing with you online in the local area that want to meet you. Really good idea, perhaps outside your main shopping period. So before 9 o'clock, after 6. I think you also, with your pop-up, need to be very, very flexible. Lots of shopping centres have late nights. So are you prepared to work till 8 o'clock at night? Will you be there at 8 o'clock in the morning? All the other things that you need to find out. This is part of it. Okay. Before you start, have a look at the influencers and bloggers. Is there anything, could you give them some sort of exclusivity, a discount to promote your products? Key influencers and bloggers haven't had the best time of it recently because of the pandemic particularly. So I'm sure that they are as keen to get publicity as you are. It works both ways. Again, look at your media. It's not only online. Print is very important for your leafleting and your distribution and posters. What are you going to do about the opening? If you're in a shopping centre particularly, they will help you. You'll be a part of their events. They could probably do something for you. At the moment, I think there's gatherings of only 30. That will probably change on the 21st of June. So let's see what everyone else is going to be doing then. But creating an event for yourself, particularly, even in an appointment setting, will be a good idea. You know, we need to create the space and the interest. So it could be balloons, it could be internal decorations, it could be anything. You might have a juggler outside, but something that's very, very different. Somebody, I think, had a tattoo artist. It was an art venture, and they invited a tattoo artist to come in, just to, as a demonstration. They weren't tattooing anybody, but as a demonstration, because that was their age group marketplace. They knew who their customer was. So knowing your customer is so important, which was one of the early slides. How do you build momentum? Look at all the different ways. Targeting distribution of your flyer. As I said, where are you going? But it depends on your marketplace and what you're selling. Co-marketing opportunities, that's really important with other traders. Would they like to join you? Yeah, would they like to go on the back of your leaflet? Have to think about the town centre management. Do you want to publicise them as well? Could they contribute to the leaflet? Would you contribute to theirs? What's going on behind the scenes? The behind the scenes about your pop-up. Could you send out clips on Twitter, on Instagram, setting up your pop-up? It's all a way of building up traction, building people to actually, encouraging people to come into the pop-up. So basically notify everybody, the people that are creating your products. Are you buying in from a local manufacturer? Are you using a local crafter? Yeah, bring them in. Is there something that you can demonstrate? Are we making soy candles? Are we making gifts? Are we making tapestries? What are we doing? Is it exclusive? Now, get them in and make sure that you're creating interest. You've only got a very short time, usually weeks only. So, questions, anybody? Richard, Murat? Murat, what you missed is the most popular pop-ups. The research by EE, and that's food and drink, fashion, arts and crafts, particularly jewellery and accessories. Those are the top, I think it's 6 or 7. Okay, shall we move on? Right. It's really important that, people still buy from people. So it's friendly, open, answering questions. Talk to people. You'll get a really good feedback about what's good about your products, what's not so great, what would they like to see. I think, listen to your customers. I would say to you, seem busy, appear busy. Don't sit and eat, in your pop-up. That's, try and be as engaged as possible. There might be somebody who can't take your goods at the moment. They might be too large. Are you going to deliver? Going the extra mile? We're living in their world. I did say this a couple of days ago. Keep your customers engaged with you, and that's storing their information. I mean, you might go to a visitor's book. I'm going to say a visitor's book, a really nice leather-bound visitor's book where people are invited to, give their email address, name and an email address, and comments on what they thought of your pop-up. It's great feedback. How can you get information, engage with your clients? They might not buy anything at that time, but it doesn't mean to say they're not going to. Best for customer feedback mechanism. Okay. If it's in your pop-up, it needs to be in your pop-up. I'd have a short form questionnaire if they're prepared to answer in your pop-up. It's talking to people. Okay. I'd also capture information and ask permission to email them. You also could have some sort of offer where they put the email address in a goldfish bowl, and you pick out the email address and the telephone number, and they win, I don't know, one of your products. So it's a competition, something like that. Survey polls, yeah, surveys. I mean, it is a pop-up, and you could be quite busy. You need to ask permission. It's asking permission. It's who you're talking to. That question's really interesting. It depends. You have to ask. Because of GDPR, you cannot send out anything that is unsolicited. So it's always, worthwhile asking.
Hello, Elaine. I was just going to ask you about GDPR as regards sort of like a book, a visitor's book kind of thing. How do you?
Well, I mean, there are still visitors' books. If you go to hotels, they have visitors' books with comments on, and you just ask them. You ask, would you mind? You know, we're really keen on receiving feedback and information about what you thought of our pop-up. Do you mind? As long as you ask, you have to get permission. That's the issue with GDPR.
I was just like, a bit worried about like other people accessing that information from the visitors book when they're writing their own details in there. So
well, you could write it in for them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You say, you know, can I take you? We've got a visitor book. Can I take your details in our visitors book? So they don't. I think it's a really good point. So they don't look.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, I wouldn't. And also, it's very quick. I don't think they'd have any time to take down anyone else's information. Do you? Well, they're busy writing in their own. But it's a good point. It's a really good point. Yeah, security, definitely. Ask and write it in. Yeah, point of sale. That's obviously when they're at the desk. That's when you capture their email addresses and ask them, and then ask them if you could contact them for further any offers, any promotions, because remember, you're only there for a short time, and that's what you tell them. We're only here for a short time. How would you like us to keep in touch? It's a really good way of adding to your the omni-channel on and offline. So you take the offline back online, so you're doing both. It's to give yourself the opportunity, but if you actually make sure that people know that it's you're only there for a short time, they might not have seen the leaflet, they might be just walking past. You say, we're here from, I don't know, June the 16th to July the 2nd. And that's a really good opportunity for people to give you their details because they want to know what's coming next. Murat, what you didn't hear is that, we all want to get out there. I was talking to Laura earlier on before we actually set up and saying, we're all zoomed out. We want to get out there into the real world and shop and see people. So it's a really good opportunity to do that at that time. Now, how do you evaluate the success of your pop-up? We need to get some pop-up metrics. So that's why your data is really important. So it's analyzing your sales. How much did they spend? How much did the customer spend? I mean, you've got your own recording method, whether or not it's on a spreadsheet or it's on a piece of paper or it's in a logbook. Foot traffic. How busy was it at certain times of the day? What do people think of your brand? And have you got any email leads? So the evaluation of your success. I mean, also, what would you do differently? That's what you're learning. What would you do differently? I just want to see if I've written any more hints. You could look at the average spend per customer. What's selling? What are your best sellers? What hasn't moved? How did you rate the experience? What did you feel about it? It's really important. But ask your shoppers. Okay. And what are their shopping habits? What time of the day? Did you find people came in first thing in the morning, maybe on the way to somewhere else? Or they'd come in and browsed and coming back? What about the time of length that they spent in the pop-up? Was it a popping in and out, or did they spend half an hour with you? Did they talk to you? So you'll soon build up champions People who do want to contact you later on, who are interested in your online presence. Does that answer some of the questions? Yeah. Right. Okay. It's your review time. So you step back after you've done your analytics and think, okay, is it going to be something that I'm going to use again as part of your overall brand strategy and business strategy? Is it a way that I'll come in, I don't know, certain times of the year, that you'll keep your online presence and have a pop-up rather than bricks and mortar? So you might have a pop-up in the spring. I mean, there's all sorts of things that, you know, florists, very, very busy Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, they might be online florists. Let's get out there. Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Easter, Christmas. And they could have pop-ups every year. Maybe you would want to do that. It's an affordable first step into actually having a retail, or considering having retail. So you might spend a year with pop-ups at different areas and think, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to go into bricks and mortar. You might share with somebody else who you've met along the way. And that's why it's being agile. Don't close your mind at all. Many pop-ups as possible. And don't try to be too permanent, because a pop-up is, as it says, it's in one space. Okay. Now, these are, I have given resources to Laura, but who will actually post them. But these are some really good links. So those will be on. But most importantly is the process for setting up a pop-up. So I'd like you to write this down if you don't mind. The first stage of any pop-up is about your idea. What is it you want to do? What's the outcome? The second, tell me if I'm going too quickly. The second stage, yeah, okay. The second stage is researching your marketplace. Where is this pop-up going to stand? Where do you want to be? Which area? Town, city, outdoor, indoor, meeting with somebody else? The third stage is, what sort of partnerships do I need? Who's going to run it with me? Are you running it on your own? How can I build up networks? You know, as I said, you know, local councils, chambers of commerce, town centre managers, town teams, church groups, community groups, art groups. Where does your customer, where are we going to find your customer? And the only way we're going to do that is research, market research, and it's very hands-on. And that's what's going to take you the time, but it's so worthwhile. It'll stop you going through blind alleys, because there's a big difference between risk and calculated risk. The next thing that you need to consider on your step to opening is the costs. What are your costs? What's your budget? What is it going to cost insurances? What about the space? Are you being charged? Business rates, perhaps? What's the rental, if anything? You know, and legals. And launch will help you with the legals. Is it a basic hiring agreement for a couple of weeks? Can you piggyback onto a shopping centre if it's a shopping centre, or a landlord's insurance for a short time? Contents insurance, really important. Security. And then the space itself, the physical space, inside, outside. Does it have windows? Does it have parking? Have you got enough space for people to isolate, you know, to socially distance? What about design? The design, your branding, the logo, signage, your strap line. What do you stand for? Your stock. What are we actually selling? Really, really important. The next stage, how are you going to promote it? And that's 3 stages. So the promotion and marketing is before, the lead up to the pop-up. What happens during that space, during the time, gathering all the research and information. As Richard said, how can we gather the information? What's legal due to GDPR? Talk to people, get some feedback. You're only there for a short time. It's very, very valuable. You talk to people. What about online marketing at the same time, generating footfall into the shop from online and vice versa? Leafleting. Who's going to design them? Do you need to put up your own sign? Anything you need needs to be so you can take the sign for, another pop-up. If it's inside, for example, a shopping centre, there'll probably lots of shop fitting and fixtures that you can utilise free. They'll be only too happy. They've got, rooms full. Is there a stock room? And then the review. The last stage is your review. How can we maximise this as a business opportunity for the future? How many people have we got in our room today? Is it 3, 4? Laura?
We're up to 3.
3, okay. Well, we did have 20 minutes for a Q&A. So we've now got our Q&A. Now, I understand that 3 people will probably not need me for 20 minutes, but I am here for 20 minutes for any questions. And don't be shy.
Hi, Elaine. I'd just like to thank you and the team for this opportunity again, and it's been a good talk presentation. So there's definitely some useful stuff in there that I can put into my proposal for tomorrow's competition on Friday.
I'm pleased about that.
Yeah, so I'm going to get off now because I've got another couple of meetings today, Zoom things to go to.
Okay.
All right, thanks for your time.
Before you go, Richard, are you attending at 4 o'clock?
I am, yeah. Is that you again?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I just signed up for everything, basically.
Great.
So, yeah.
Great. Fantastic.
Okay. All right. See you later. Ta-da.
See you later. Bye. Murat, would you like to ask any questions? Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi, Murat. Would you like to ask any questions?
I think basically you talk a lot about what I would like to ask is more I'd like to have the presentation in full and then basically come back to it.
Yeah, that's fine.
What I mean, yeah. So I really appreciate it. It was very informative and very interesting. And
good. I'm pleased about that. That's great. Really pleased.
About
great.
How to
fantastic. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your time as well.
Okay, thank you too. Bye bye.
Okay. Right, there we go.